What's up, everybody? My name is Nick Murphy. I'm one half of the Brothers Murph, and this is Choo Choo Full Theme Ahead. I love that name. Yeah. So this is the new Thematic series that Mike did an episode for a couple weeks ago, and then this is the second one, and we'll be continuing on from here. So it's called Full Theme Ahead because we are looking specifically at the theme of the game and how well that theme is integrated into the game. We're not really talking about whether or not we like that game. For all these games we're going to be reviewing, we do like them. It's kind of like Board Game Highlight, where we're basically telling you why we like the game. In this case, we're just telling you what we think of the theme and how well the theme is integrated, because theme is a really big deal to us in games. And this week, we're going to take a look at my favorite game in the whole world and Mike's number 2 game in the whole world, Viticulture. Viticulture, it's just the best. It's just the greatest game ever made. And one thing that we love about Viticulture is how thematic it is. It already has a different theme. There's a couple wine-based games, but there's not that many. It's like that, not that popular of a theme. But then the theme is really, really well integrated in Viticulture. So we're going to go through and talk about the different parts of the game and how the theme works into the mechanics of the game. So let's go on this journey and taste a little bit of wine. Except for we won't be tasting wine because neither Mike or I drink, which I think is funny. This is such a highly acclaimed game for us because it's a theme that we don't partake in and don't like. I mean, vineyards are cool, they're fine, but that just goes to show of how good this game is how well the theme and the art and just the whole everything comes together, this beautiful package where it's a theme that I personally don't really care about and don't partake in, and yet it still just elevates everything to the top of my list. So Viticulture is my favorite type of game. Now you'll say, Nick, we all know that you love worker placement. That is true, but my favorite specific kind of worker placement is worker placement slash engine building. And that's what Viticulture is. It's one of those games where you do this to do this to do this to do this so that you can do this. So let's talk about the theme. The theme is you are running your own vineyard. There's a main central board where you're placing your workers and everyone else has your own private vineyard. And throughout the game, you're gonna be getting different kinds of vines and grapes. You're gonna be turning those grapes into juice, and then you're gonna turn that juice into wine and then fulfill wine orders. And pretty much every single spot on this board that you can put your workers makes sense in terms of the theme. And all that's great, but that's the general overview of the game. Let's get into a little bit of that nitty and gritty, and we're gonna start with turn order, or what is called the wake-up chart. Basically, whoever is higher on the wake-up chart goes first, whoever is lower goes last. So if your workers wake up earliest, then they get to go first, and that's great. But it's also got a bit of a double-edged sword, because players that work up later in the wake-up chart get bigger and bigger bonuses the lower down they are, because their workers got to sleep in longer. They're more rested, and when they wake up, they're not starting quite as early as you, but they're more vibrant. They have more stuff going on, and they're like, okay, cool, let's do this. You're gonna get this bonus, and you're gonna get this bonus, you're gonna get this bonus. And so that actually thematically makes sense. And that's just a little thing. That's just the turn order, but already there's a little bit of thematic tie in there where it's like, yeah, wake up early. You're gonna be up before sun. That's great, but your workers would be like, okay, grapes are over there? And I love that. And then let's start getting into a couple of the different spaces on the board. Pretty much all the spaces on the board make sense. Some a little more than others, but for the most part, every single one you can make some kind of thematic tie to. In summer and or spring, if you're playing with Tuscany, you can get vine cards. You're gonna need to get vine cards, which are the green cards that have different types of grapes on them. You need these cards because you're gonna need to plant these in your fields. And that checks out. If you're trying to make wine, you're gonna need grapes first. So you need to go and make sure you're getting these grape cards so that you have them in your hand, so that when your field is ready, you can go ahead and plant them in there and then start harvesting those grapes. Another spot on there is plant. You then have these cards, you need to plant them in your field. So you go there, you plant a couple cards, your workers go like, oh, plow in the field, planting grapes, planting grapes. Is this how you plant grapes? I'm not a farmer. Another space where you can get money is you can give a tour of your vineyard, which again is very cool. This could have been a spot where it's like, okay, just get $2. But instead it's give a tour of your vineyard, because your vineyard is beautiful and green and lovely, and there's grape and there's dewdrops everywhere and such like that. And you're like, come here, visitors, and you know, look at my grapes and give me money. Money, please. In games like this, you need a way to get money, and it could have been anything, but they tie it back into the theme where you go like, oh, I'm going here, I'm giving a tour of my winery, all right, cool, I get some money, that makes sense, I love it. And then one of the main things you use that money for is to build structures. In your own vineyard, you have a whole bunch of different structures that you can build. You can build bigger cellars, you can build windmills, you can build trellises or irrigation because certain plants require that you have a trellis. Certain plants require that you have irrigation. Some require both. So you have to go over here, do this so that I have the money so I can build this so that I can plant this card. Again, it comes into that do this to do this to do this to do this so I can do this. I love that in games. You can go and harvest your fields and get grapes down onto your crushing pad, and then you can crush, 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 and turn those into wine. And then once you have the wine you need, you can go to a spot and fill a wine order. And so now you've taken this journey of just going to this spot and this spot and this spot and this spot over sometimes many rounds to eventually get to the point where you fill a wine order and you're able to turn in a card and get a certain amount of points because you had this big order, and that order you have fulfilled and you get points because of that. And again, that all ties in. It's not just like, oh, now I have a level 9 wine, I get 4 points. It's no, someone out there's Jeff over in, Tampa wanted this really, really nice wine. So he put in an order, he called up, he's like, hey, nice wine, get it. And you were like, okay, I'm gonna do this, 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 to do this, to get the wine I need to fulfill Jeff's order, and I'm gonna send it out to him, and then I get points because of that. It's not points for no reason, it's points because you fulfilled something, because you did something, because you worked towards something. And that something that you work towards makes sense in this world. So that's most of the spots on the board. All of them, for the most part, make total sense. And it just works into that engine that you have to get going. And that engine that you have to build yourself to be able to fulfill these wine orders, to be able to get the stuff that you need to get the points and hopefully win the game. And the two last spaces I want to talk about are playing these visitor cards. These visitor cards are essentially just action cards. They let you do certain things. They allow you to sometimes fill orders or get wine. There's a whole grip of these action cards, and they all do something different, which is super great. And again, these could be just random action cards, cards with no art on them, cards with nothing on them. It's just like, oh, you get to now age wine, cool. But they're not that way. Each separate card has art on it. Each separate card has a different name, and these are all visitor cards. These are visitors that are coming to your vineyard, and then you can essentially sometimes hire them. Sometimes it seems like they're more like friends who are just helping out. Sometimes it's like competitions that are going on. All this different stuff that, again, all of it is just flavor. It's just stuff that doesn't technically need to be there, but adds more and more to that theme, adds more and more to that richness of the game. So take this card right here. This guy is the Uncertified Architect. You can go to him and lose 1 victory points to build a $2 or $3 structure. And that's pretty normal. It's like, okay, lose a victory point, you can build a structure, boom, boom. But I love the fact that he's an Uncertified Architect, because that's pretty cheap, and that's a pretty easy way to do that, because you're like, lose a point, only 1 point to build a structure? Yeah, I'll do it. That's no problem at all. But I love the fact that it's an Uncertified Architect, because again, that's a pretty cheap, kind of quick and easy way to get something built, because it's an Uncertified Architect. You just roll up and he's building stuff and you're like, is that safe? And he's like, look, it's getting built, okay? And you're like, yeah, it is getting built. All right, whatever. We have the Collector, where you can get 1 victory point for every different type of wine you have in your cellar, whether it's red, white, blush, or sparkling wine. And again, that makes sense. It's a collector. She collects wine. Of course she does. That's why you get those points. And not every single card is perfect in that thematic sense, but they all do make some semblance of sense of why you can do this because of this person. And again, it didn't need to be that way. They could have just been like, you just get to do this, you can do this, whatever. But no, they gave them art, they gave them names, they gave them reasons of why you're able to do this. I honestly don't really have much to say in terms of negatives about the theme. There is really, really very little stuff that doesn't make thematic sense, at least in some way. The one thing I can really think of, and maybe I'm wrong about this, is on the Tuscany board, there is a bit of like area control going on down here. That's the only part I don't really like, because it feels out of place and it feels like it's kind of just tacked on. It's literally kind of looks like it's tacked on. And honestly, we don't really ever play with it because we're always just like, I don't really like that part. I don't really get it. This part doesn't really make thematic sense, at least to us. And that's pretty much the only kind of knock we have on the game in terms of theme and the way the theme is integrated. Other than that, the theme is integrated pretty much all the way through. And if you haven't figured it out, that's one of the main reasons why we love it so much. But I'm gonna get off my soapbox. I have talked about Viticulture too much already. I love it so much. I'll just talk forever and ever about why I love it. So what's my theme rating? In Full Theme Ahead, this series right here, our rating is done in paste. How much is the theme pasted on? 0 cans of paste means there's no pasted on theme. It's fully integrated, perfect in every single way. And 5 cans of paste mean it is 100% pasted on. There is no reason this game has this theme. It's literally just there for absolutely no reason. So Viticulture, I'm gonna give, honestly, 0 cans of paste if you're playing the base game. If you're playing with Tuscany, I'm gonna give it 1 can of paste. And the reason is because there's 1 or 2 spots that like aren't that thematic, and then there's that whole area control part that like to me doesn't really make much sense. So if you're playing with Tuscany, I'll give it 1 can of paste. But if you're playing normal, it's 0. Everything makes sense. I love it. It's just the best. So that is our thematic review on the game Viticulture. You have been with me here, Nick Murphy, and choo choo, Full Theme Ahead. We'll see you later. Hey there everybody, thank you so much for watching that video. We honestly really appreciate it. We just want to take a second to remind you that we are sponsored by Restoration Games. We also play all of our games on top of Game Toppers right here, which are these beautiful luxury game tables. And you can go to Game Topper LLC to find out more and to upgrade your gaming experience. We also have a Patreon. If you have a couple shekels lying around, you like what we do, please feel free to throw them at our faces. We will not say no to them. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll catch you later. All right. Ooh. All right. Mikey, what do you want to do? You want to get Thai?
Nick!
Jesus. Oh my gosh. Big face disheveled Nick. You can't just do that.
Sorry, not sorry. What are you guys doing? You guys getting Thai food? I love Thai food. I want some. Give me some.
No, you can't have Thai food.
Why not?
No, you can't have Thai food because you don't eat food. You're not real.
You're not real.
No, I'm not dealing with you right now. I'm not dealing with you right now, okay?
I'll kill your children.
What?
What? You guys getting Thai food? What?